I have a few more weeks left of winter, and there are still going to be crazy storms along the way. I mean, there's still going to be, some iced over moments. I think we've got a forecast for us that we're supposed to be getting some ice and snow and rain and whole mixed thing in one day. Now, when I tell you this, I want to tell you about it's mind-boggling. Okay, when I start reading a story that involves a couple of people that get trapped in a storm and it hit them overnight, kind of thing, and it, I guess because my wife and I have been doing this stuff so long that we don't see anything. I guess this goes back to what so many people have said. This can't happen to me mentality. This type of stuff doesn't happen, or we're just too distracted, too many things going on at the moment, and you lose sight of what you need and what you should have. And what did I say? Uh, the the what ifs and should haves will eat your brain alive, right? So that goes to I get to reading this story, and I don't make fun of these folks, okay? Because there's plenty. I mean, preppers and folks that prepare for things, survivalists, and all those above, the whole 9 yards, right? Every single one of us that are into some sort of preparedness. And for those of us, prepper's a harsh word. I don't like being called. I don't even know what it's called. Homesteading. Back in the day, homesteading was like, I don't even need to get in this conversation, but homesteading was like, you know, folks that had a house and just took care of themselves, that kind of thing. They, it, you brought up that way. It's just, and uh, they're raised with all the stuff that kind of like we've already incorporated in our lives, but a little bit of extra technology along the way. But I don't make fun of these folks. I read this. There's a very small percentage of us type of folks, and some folks. I mean, they grew up with their parents, and their parents or grandparents or whatnot had, uh, did certain things throughout each season. If you're in one of the states kind of like mine, we experience all the different ridiculousness of weather and Mother Nature. It's either freezing cold, iced over, snowstorm, blizzard. Then we go from for you folks that, all right, you northern boys out there, for you northern boys out there, so all right, that's nothing for us. That's like summertime for us. I get that all the time, and but just keep in mind here, don't make fun of the folks that don't know certain things. And there's an article I was reading. Okay, this article I was reading. This the cabin nightmare, right? The cabin nightmare. These folks, they get hitched, stranded, and all this stuff. And then the type of and the type of thing here, the mentality and the preparations made uh, to stay in a newly bought home or something like that. You didn't look at all the different needs that you were going to have. Hang on a sec. One of my animals were getting ready to pounce me on the face. I didn't think that. Some of y'all might enjoy that. So these folks, they only have perishable foods. They have no non-perishable. It's the stuff that can store longer, canned foods and things like that. Stuff like SpaghettiOs. You can just, for those of you folks out there, roughing it, you can dump out a can of SpaghettiOs. I read a post. Yeah, you can just eat those things. Just eat. Most folks want their food hot. They can't eat the food when it's cold. It's too cold to eat it. Man, I'll just take that can and I'll just slurp it, right? And it's we are all different. Everybody has a different thought process when it comes to. I read articles years ago. I used to be a motorcycle club president. Now this is where I get this from. And when I was in the Marines, I did the motorcycle club president thing. And I know I beat a dead horse when I say that, but one of the things that I was responsible for doing was teaching like these, the after actions and what it would be like, and do memorandums and stuff for the course meeting minutes and things like that. all these different things you got to do, right? Well, one of the things that would get brought up is like give them examples of accidents. So I would pull up accident reports, and you get a long list of them online. A guy riding with flip flops, gets hit by a semi truck or something, and he checked the mirror going that way, and he checked the mirror going that way, and then he checked to go that way and take off at the same time, and then all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, he gets hit by a truck. So many different stories, and some of them are kind of like, what the heck, the guy didn't see him at the stop sign and just ran over him, what? All these different things. This stuff happens. It's real stuff, and you got to look for motorcycles. You got to keep your eyes out for them. It's hard to see for some of these folks. I mean, they're on cell phones and stuff. That's a different subject, isn't it? I'm changing the subject again. I'm rambling. Here I go. All right, so there's some things that we do that most folks don't do, right? Hang on a sec. All right, I'm back. No more distractions. Let's keep this going. Now, a lot of us think different about situations. You might have grown up with your family members that had done, was winter's coming. What you doing, Pops? What are you doing downstairs? What are you fiddling with? What are you doing? Putting, making sure the pipes don't freeze and all these different things. Running water, and a lot of folks don't know the simple things. One of the first things I read in the article, how they were out without power, without water, and they only had perishable foods. Terrible, right? And it just sounds horrible. Think about it. They only had perishable foods. But for some of us, it's like, oh, whatever, it's whoop-de-doo. Who cares? You're get over it. Suck it up, Buttercup. That's kind of thing. Here's a big straw. Suck it up. Here's the thing. It's like the vehicle stranded, snowed in. Snow everywhere. Huge, thick piles of snow. The other thing, how they had managed to get water from just whatever source they could find, because the pipes had froze up. They didn't know to run the water, and the pipes froze up, so they bust, and you got frozen bust pipes. No water's coming out, and they had all the other stuff. It's getting what water they could out of the back dish of the toilet. You're not flushing any water because the water doesn't run anyway, so you just take it out of the back dish, right there at the top, pull the lid off, and get some water out of it. Folks will do that. Technically it's not very sanitary, but in an emergency, that's what you got, and you got to think of these things. And it's kind of like living a life like MacGyver, but not really. Some folks they miss those parts of things. Extra layer of clothes, all those different things. They had all the main items, like wearing plenty of thick clothes. They had that covered. Perishable foods. They had pasta, but they couldn't boil it. They were limited on water, so they ate like half cooked pasta, half cooked this, half cooked that. Some of the stuff wasn't getting cooked right. They were having to MacGyver get wood out of the woods, because lack of preparedness in the we're used to having power. We don't expect the power to go out. We don't have stacks of firewood so that we can just throw it in the fireplace and keep it going. Luckily, they had a fireplace, and they ran out and scavenged for wood. It's amazing what folks will do once it finally falls in their lap, and then they're having to live it. And it's like, wow, now I realize what all these folks went through. And it's boggling, all these people that, actually save canned foods and stuff like that, have food storage, right? Have food storage, canning and all the other 9 yards. It's, a lot of folks will argue that, well, it's just, it's just cheaper just to go and buy it. Why grow it? It's not cheaper. I mean, because you can save the seeds. A lot of folks don't even know how to save seeds for every single plant that they plant. I mean, you can save seeds for everything, and you can regrow that again the next year, even grow more of it than you did before. So it's just one more thing, but that's being self-reliant, right? Self-reliant, being wise to all the different things that to keep you alive. That's all part of survival. And I read another article. I'm gonna skip that part. I just wanted to share that little article with you guys and gals, because I know that some of you are scratching your head like, whoa, dang, that would, some of you that wouldn't happen to, but some of you, well, us, we still think like, well, I could be miles away. I could be in another location. What am I going to do then? Well, you grab your bug out bag and all this other things. Your get out your get your get out of Dodge, your get out of Dodge bag, your get home bag or something like that. And I know in my bag there's a Mora knife, there's a ferro rod, and all these different things. We think that way. We think like all this different stuff. One of the things that I was reading the other day was a comment from someone else. They just tweeted out, I guess it was in a tweet or something I read. I know, right? I just sort of, I caught it scrolling up and somebody tagged me or something. Hey, look at this. Someone was saying, what skills should I learn? What skills should I pick up first? I want to take my boys out and teach them some stuff, and that all goes in when we say teach our kids something. It all falls into the age group, because for some age groups, just love them, right? You really can't. They won't get into it, or they might be into it, and if they're older and they're becoming teens, if they're teenagers or something like that, they might not be into that stuff, and they just might tell you to kick rocks and just be anti survivalism type stuff. You never know what you're going to get these days. I mean, everybody's kids are different. That's the other thing. So it all depends on the age and if they're into it or not, and if they're into it and how to get them into it and how to talk them into it. It's like, check this out. You can do this. Check this out. Show them a little trick. That usually gets their attention. Oh, cool. And well, did you know you could? Next thing you know, you've got some attention, and you can keep that going. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know that's how that worked. But I was reading some of the replies. What they should teach first was the question. What should we're getting ready to do a series of camping and stuff and getting outdoors, so I could teach my boys some stuff. What should I do? And what are the main ones that I should take them and teach them? And you got people telling them stuff like, well, teach them how to learn how to do a ferro rod. Well, man, it's a ferrocenium rod. I mean, teach them, go further than that. Teach them how to find chert. Teach them how to find chert and how to use a carbon steel blade to get some sparks, get some embers and stuff, the whole night. Go a little bit further than that. Show them how to make a bird's nest, a proper one. Don't go take a bird's nest. That's nasty. You be out in the woods. I'm going to take this bird's nest. That's not how it was. It's not the same. That's not the same thing. That's not what I mean. But some of you are probably laughing at that. Some of you are like, what are you talking about? Is he making fun of me? You never know. I mean, you just never know. Different types, different strokes, different folks, right? But learning them something, right? Let me learn you something. Education. If you're teaching your kids, some young ones, skills, what type of skills to pick up, you could pick up an SAS survival survival book. It's they've got the pocket edition to it. It's right in your pocket. That one's great. That's the one I have. I keep it with me most of the time. And this goes back to so many other things that, we all talk about, is that, hey, my kids are crazy, I tell you. See, I can't take them in the woods. They're too loud. Someone said, you should take your kids hunting. It's like herding cats. It's not happening. You got this many kids. It's like herding cats. You ever heard cats before? Don't answer that. But if the books, read them now, because when the grid goes down and you're on the run or something weird, the freaking Terminator comes back, right? It's like it's Judgment Day or something. I don't know your lifestyle. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but whatever does, if Skynet kicks on and freaking, and this is Genesis for freaking robots, then I suggested you probably should have already read all those books and you were fully prepared to. There's different stages of this stuff. It's you can read it, you can understand it, and then there's reading it as like level 1, reading it, understand it. Level 2 is reading, understanding it, and then initiating, right? Going out and doing it. And then there's number 3. being able to read it, understand it, do it, and teach others. There's like 3 levels to this stuff. It's like the rule of 3, right? But most folks don't see it that way. It's what should you teach them is, it's pretty simple. What do you need every day? Well, you need water, you need food, you need shelter, you need, all the fire. Fire's a good thing, but fire's not always 100% necessary. Not in a sear situation. If you're trying to stay alive behind enemy lines or something, you're not too worried about making fires unless it's just extremely necessary, because fires attract attention, and day or night. You got smoke during the day, you got freaking fire at night, and sometimes you can even notice the smoke through the clouds and the stars and all the other stuff. Shut up over there. That's Elvis. He's running his mouth again. There's a lot that goes into this stuff, but the basics fire is good, and it's good to know how to make fire, but you need to also think about all the other stuff too. But wild edibles. In your region, do you know what you can eat? Do you know the trees? Do you know what the trees are capable of? Like the different types of bark, the different types of leaves, the things you can eat, what they're called. And being able to just snap to and find some food. Well, we're in the middle of nowhere. Well, I'm gonna look for something to eat real quick. Not just a bunch of grub worms or something, but other things. But I don't put fire as number 1, but fire is very important. It's just a skill to know. And your number 1 on your list is water. Food is not as important as water if you're trying to stay alive. And I didn't make this video to go on about all these different things, but food. And that's the first thing that anyone complains about: food fatigue, all these different things, that not being able to, freezing up because you're not getting enough water. You start shutting down off of food and water. But food's not as important as water, but food gives you energy to keep moving. And that, but there's the medical aspects of food. It also goes into, what types of teas you can make. Can you make a tea or something you can drink to get better, feel better, move faster, whatever, that kind of thing. Wake you up, like a bushcraft coffee or something, right? I'm not talking about the kind you buy at the store. It didn't come in a box. It's out there. You just got to go get it. And that's a lot of the other stuff out there that you just got to go get. But I didn't want to make this video to to go through the whole list of stuff. But this is kind of like, we don't know what's down the line for us. We don't know what our future is going to be like. And folks get complacent, or folks don't know. They either don't know or don't care. 2 different types, right? They either don't know or don't care. And but you got to if you know of someone heading out into a weird place or a random place, and they, hey, bro, did you know that it's probably gonna freeze in, or it's probably gonna snow? Did you do this, and this? Do you have snow chains? Oh, yeah. Make sure you turn the water on, so you know what I mean? All these different things. Teach them while you can, and teach them what you can, and it falls back to being at the right age for it. Because some kids, they get some stuff. My kids can tell you what church looks like. But that's because they hang out with me all the time, and we're always walking around and tinkering with stuff. So they always learn a bunch of weird stuff from me. But for the kids that don't know, just walk around with them and show them stuff. You never know. They might actually pick it up and say, well, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I want to be focused on this, because you never know. Like, kind of like my son picked it up. He wants to collect tons of BB guns. Of course, he goes straight for weapons, right? Tons of BB guns and all this stuff. He wanted to take martial arts, and he wanted to do all this stuff. He wanted to collect camo attire and boots and, all this stuff. But that's not just a boy thing, because the girl does that trash too. She has to collect her flashlight. She's got this. She wears a neck getup that's got like the glow in the dark doodad with the whistle and all this stuff. She always wears that thing, and it's not just a boy related thing. So don't get, well, that's because he's a boy, isn't it? Because girls do the same thing. They do the same thing. You just got to show it to them, and they're like, that's cool. I like that. And it's like, you mean I'm in a situation I could just bust out this? Uh, you never know, right? All right, but I hope this helps somebody out there and food for thought, right? But rainbows and unicorns. God bless. Take care.